Hey everybody, thank you for watching. My name is Rick, and if you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and check out my other playlists. For those of you who've been around a long time, you know that I normally don't do things on bikes. If you have been watching for a while, you know that cycling is a big part of my life. I used to race, which is something I don't do anymore, but I still do spend hours on the bike. And this Canyon here is actually my retirement bike. I retired from the fire department in December of this year. And we'll talk a little bit about why I ordered it now instead of waiting, and really having just gone through the Canyon ordering process and trying to figure out the size and how the whole thing works, I thought it would be helpful to do a video to try to help you guys out. I know I had a lot of questions going through this whole process, and it can be a little daunting to do so. It's a big purchase, and obviously you want to get it right. So we're going to talk about all of Canyon's kind of how the ordering process went, my dealings with customer service. At the end, I'll give you my first ride impressions. One of the big things I wanted to talk about today is why I actually chose the size that I did. Most of us have sizes that we've ridden over the years, but still each manufacturer is a little bit different, and Canyon does their sizing a little bit different. So I wanted to talk about some of those things and again, why I went with the size that I did. But if you're not familiar, this is the 2021 Canyon Ultimate CF SLX Disk 9.0, and it's red etap. So there's a lot of things on this bike that are new to me, and so we'll talk about those as well, and we'll compare it to my Cannondale Super 6 Evo High Mod to try to give you an idea if you're trying to figure out, again, what bike is best for you. So with all of that said, let's get started with the video. If you have questions that are not answered here, please leave those below or send me an email. I'll leave that in the description. I'm happy to answer and help in any way that I can. Let's get started with the video, guys. Thanks for watching. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why I ordered what I did and why I ordered it this time. So as I mentioned, this is the Canyon Ultimate SLX Disk 9.0. And a lot of you that know Canyon know that they have basically two race bikes. They have the Ultimate and they have the Air Road, or Aero Road, however you'd like to pronounce that. And they have different iterations of that bike. The top of the line one is the CFR, which is their ultimate bike as far as frame material. It's the lightest, probably the stiffest and the fastest, etc. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not racing anymore. And even if I were, that bike is honestly way more than I would ever need. And to be totally honest with you, so is this one. However, being that cycling is such a big part of my life, I wanted to get a great bike. And one of the reasons I chose Canyon is because they offer a lot of bike for the money. Yes, they're still expensive, but you get a lot with it. With this model here, you get, it's kind of their second tier bike as far as being a 9.0. But you get SRAM red etap, which is fantastic. And I chose that over Shimano basically because it's fully wireless and Shimano's 12 speed is not out yet. This bike comes with a power meter, comes with disc brakes, and these very nice DT Swiss wheels with ceramic bearings. So it's a gorgeous bike, and it ticks all the boxes that I wanted in my retirement bike, and probably the last bike I'll buy in quite some time. And basically finally decided to make the move to disc brakes, which is something I've been a little bit hesitant to do, but unfortunately that's where everything is going, and a lot of the manufacturers aren't even making rim brake versions anymore. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few years who's actually left doing that. The reason I chose the Ultimate over the Aero Road essentially is, the Aero Road, I don't need an Aero bike right now. They've come such a long way as far as being still great all-rounders, but it has a lower front end on it, a shorter head tube, which again, I don't need. I don't ride in a very low position anymore. I had a back surgery back in, gosh, when was that now? 2011. So, and haven't really raced since 2014. So what I wanted was something that was just a, relatively light, but mostly comfortable. And I can tell you from the rides that I've done so far, this bike is outstanding in that regard. And I wanted something to basically to replace my Cannondale Super 6 Evo High Mod, which out of all the bikes I've ridden, all the bikes I've owned, has been probably the best one at doing everything. It's a fantastic bike, and I'm hoping that this one is as good. We'll see how that goes. For those of you who are looking to buy a new bike right now, or even to buy even basic parts, including just tubes, you'll notice that everything has gone way up in price and you can't find anything these days. I don't know if it's COVID disrupting the supply chain along with the extra demand because of COVID, but you literally cannot buy any bikes out there right now. The guy who runs our bike team and actually sells bikes and everything else, he's selling out even out of Pinarellos, which are $12,000 and $13,000 bikes. So there for a while, you couldn't really find anything under $4,000, but there were still some mid-range bikes around. So for me to be able to find this Canyon in stock and to be able to order it now, even though it's 6 or 7 months before I retire, it just seemed like the right thing to do. Who knows what's going to happen next year? I know that things are going to be on back order till 2022, and they're saying things probably won't return to normal, maybe even till 2023. So it's going to be interesting to follow that along, but that's kind of the reasoning why I went ahead and ordered this now. And the good thing about Canyon is, for the money, you get a lot of bike, and they're a good company. They've been around since '96. And one of the other things about Canyon that's cool, everything they do is online, which is a little bit interesting, and we'll talk about that ordering process here in a second, but they do have a 30-day return policy. So, I still have probably 3 weeks to test this bike out, and clearly you can't send it back abused and trashed, but if you take care of it, you ride it, and for some reason it's just not working for you, you can send it back, and if you do it the right way, you'll get a full refund. One of the other big things I wanted to talk about is why I chose the size that I did. And this is actually a medium from Canyon, which is in head tube, is a 55.6 centimeter head tube. And I've ridden anywhere between 54 to 56 in the past. My Cannondale currently has a head tube that's 54.7. The medium, like I said, is 55.6. The small in Canyon is a 54.3. So one of the interesting things about Canyon is you really can't mix and match parts when you order the bike. They have their set parameters as far as chain sets, and their handlebar and stem combos, it's one unit. And on the medium frame, it's essentially a 42 centimeter bar with a 100 millimeter stem. On their small, it's a 90 millimeter stem and a 39 millimeter bar. I know it's a lot of numbers, and hopefully you're following kind of what's going on here. I had a Moots in the past that was a 56, and it fit me fine. With Canyon, I'm kind of, as far as seat height goes, I'm kind of in the middle to upper end of small, but I also fit on a medium. And what really pushed me towards the medium, number one, was the head tube size on the small is actually 130 mil, whereas on this guy, it's 146. Again, I don't need to be low and slammed in the front. I really never have ridden my Cannondale. I have like 10, 12 mil of spacers on there. And what kind of pushed me over the edge was thinking, okay, it's 130. My Cannondale head tube is 139. So I was going to have that to make up that difference in spacers, along with what I already have, Cannondale wise. So I could have been looking at quite a bit of spacers on there. The other thing is medium bike, just a little bit bigger, a little more comfortable, a little more stretched out, which is fine. So we'll see how it kind of all ends up in the end. So far, I've been able to get comfortable on the bike, but I'm still playing with everything. I'll kind of let you know in future videos, obviously, if I end up deciding to keep this bike. But going with the small, the second reason that it kind of pushed me to the medium is because of that 90 stem. I would have had to, for sure, buy the 100 stem had I gone with the small. So either way, I'm going to be making adjustments. So it's just kind of, it's a little bit of a tough call, really, because I've ridden 54s, 55s a lot, and they've always kind of fit me, but because of the bar stem situation and the head tube, it was a hard choice for me, but I ended up going with the medium. So far it's okay. We'll see how that ends up in the end. I could say a whole bunch on this subject, and I'm happy to, if you want to email or if you're still trying to figure out what bike you want to do, my best suggestion is take your current bike and just go over in super detail, the reach, the stack, the head tube, the seat tube, all that stuff. Compare it to the Canyon, and you can kind of figure out where you're at. Their measurements were nothing compared to any of the bikes I've ridden in the last probably 10 years. They were all a little bit different. So it was that head tube and that stem handlebar combination that pushed me towards the medium. On my Cannondale, which is, like I said, is a 54.5, I have a 110 stem on there, and I still feel a little bit crunched up. So I think I have maybe slightly shorter legs for my height and a little bit longer torso possibly. But anyway, that was kind of the reasoning to go towards the medium. Let's talk about my thoughts on the ordering process from Canyon. I want to talk a little bit about, finding the answers to your questions, talking to customer service and all those kind of things, and how long it took for the bike to arrive. I've spent a lot of time over the last couple years on Canyon's website. I've been part of their mailing e-list for a long time and get notified when new bikes come into stock. And basically, right now, you have to really search their inventory, find what bike you want, search their inventory, and see if there's anything in stock. And I just happened to be lucky and catch this medium in stock, and then actually about a week later, smalls came in stock, but both of them sold out within 3 or 4 days. It was crazy. So the website is very detailed. It's very easy to use, and some of the geometry questions were a little bit difficult for me to find, but if you basically choose your bike, scroll down, you're going to find everything you need to know is there, and you just got to take your time and read it. I did actually contact customer service because I couldn't figure out the stem bar combination deal, and they were very responsive to me. It took them maybe 8 to 10 hours to get back to me. They asked a follow-up question, and they actually called me the next day. When I actually ordered my bike, I was calling to ask a few more questions, and I ordered it right on the phone there. They actually ended up giving me free shipping and a free hat, a free t-shirt that doesn't fit because it was a little bit too small, but looks good on my wife, so that's cool. The customer service and the response has been great. I really have no complaints about it. It was very easy to kind of deal with and to do. So it lays everything out on the website, so just take some time and really look through there, and you can pretty well get all your questions answered. As far as the delivery goes, I ordered the bike on Friday afternoon, right around 3 o'clock, and he said that the bike would ship out on Monday, and it basically must have, because the bike actually arrived on Wednesday by around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So pretty quick shipping. And it came in this big box here, very well packed. And I'll show you some of the unpacking video. There's a bunch of videos on Canyon's website, on their YouTube page, or just do a search and you'll find some other videos of people undoing or unpacking their bikes. There wasn't a whole lot specific on the Ultimate itself, but look around and you'll be able to find some videos on that. All right, let's talk about assembly real quick. As I mentioned probably earlier, the bike comes very well packed with lots of padding, lots of Velcro, keeping everything together. And they clearly have it down how they like to pack and ship bikes. Inside the box, you find this little guy here. And actually, they also send you instructions with the bike, and then also this little toolkit, which is kind of cool. And it has kind of a makeshift little torque wrench. And then this little guy is kind of a same deal. It's a little torque wrench that you can use to tighten things up. I am not a bike mechanic by any stretch of the imagination. I have installed group sets and I can change a chain, I can do a bottom bracket and things like that. But as far as being a bike mechanic, that's definitely not me. But this is very straightforward. Essentially, you need to put on the front wheel, put on the seat post, which is clearly not hard, and then slide on the bars and attach the stem setup to the bike. How this bike comes initially is obviously, I think it's 27.5 mil of spacers that you have to work with. I've been trying to dial mine in and getting as close as I can into how the Cannondale feels. So this is where I've kind of ended up right now. Basically, there's a head cap, and then I have, I think that's at 5 mil. I will eventually get the rest of the steerer tube trimmed so I can get rid of the rest of those spacers if I decide to keep this bike specifically. As far as making adjustments go, just like any other bike, I will say that their little head tube setup is real straightforward, real easy. The seat post is actually very easy to adjust as well. Like most of them, most bikes have like a little adjustment ring here or a little clamp here. Their seat tube bolt is actually in the back here. Pretty straightforward. One of the issues I have had so far, really the only issue with the bike, is I've had some creaking in the seat post. And that's the post. That has nothing to do with the saddle. I think I have it figured out now, but the first 3 rides that I did, I had that creaking, and we'll see. We'll see if I've got it figured out. But I've re-greased the rails, and actually, this is a 5 nanometer setting. I actually reduced it a little bit yesterday after my ride to maybe around 4, and hopefully that's taking care of it. It was actually where you could just pull on the post and it was creaking at me. The saddle was doing the same kind of deal, so we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I got that figured out. All right, so talking about the seat kind of leads me into the last topic that I wanted to mention, and that was first ride impressions. I can say one of the things I noticed first and foremost about the bike is it is definitely comfortable, no question about it. But when you stand up to go up a steep, short incline, the power goes right through the bike, right to the ground, and it's very impressive. It's really nice. It's a very stiff bike, but it's also comfortable. Kind of the interesting thing with this bike here is there's really a lot of new things for me to get used to. First and foremost, the SRAM Red etap. I had never used it before. I have used Di2, but if you're not familiar with the SRAM Red, actually it's a little bit different. You use the right hand to come down the cluster, and you use your left shifter to go up the cluster. If you want to shift from the big to the small ring or vice versa, you actually push both buttons at the same time. Sounds a little weird. It did to me at first, but honestly, within 30 minutes, you have the hang of it, and by the second ride, I didn't really have to think about it anymore. The power meter was easy to adjust and get used to. Clearly, anytime, if you're familiar, if you're a cyclist, anytime you switch saddles, shoes, change your cleats, it's always a process, at least for me, of trying to get that dialed in. It takes a while to do that. This saddle with the cutout here, I have tried over the years saddles like this and have not had a whole lot of luck. I've been riding an Aliante for quite some time and find it very comfortable, but I'd like to ride a saddle with a cutout if I could, just as you get older. It's a good thing to do, but we'll see how that goes. It was better than I thought it would be, but again, only 3 rides on it, so we'll see how that goes. The other interesting thing, obviously I had to get used to using disc brakes because I've not used those before. Really, they brake great. It's not anything super different other than just they come on maybe a little bit quicker. I'm looking forward to trying them in the rain. I have the feeling they're going to be quite good. The other thing is was a little bit different for me to get used to was just the bar and stem combo. Definitely has a different feel, a more solid feel than a standard stem and handlebar. At least that's my first impression of it. It feels good. It's just different. And these bars here they actually measured center to center 41 centimeters, whereas on my Cannondale, I actually have center to center is 44 on my bars right now. So it's a little bit more narrow for me. Now that I've been on the bike for 3 rides, I'm still not quite used to everything, basically because I made little adjustments each time. I feel like I've got my bar height where it needs to be for today's ride. Hopefully the saddle creak I've got figured out. We'll see. I'll let you know down the road here. I'm leaning very heavily right now to keeping the medium. But we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm going to get another ride in today. I've done one ride on the flats. I've done 2 climbs. Basically, overall, it's a fantastic riding bike. Is it night and day above the Cannondale? I'm not going to make that decision yet, but it definitely, I have no complaints about the ride quality, the stiffness, or how light it is. And again, I don't have a scale, so I can't really give you a real world feel on that. But I will say that I think it's beautiful. I love these wheels. They are slick and they do not feel like they are as affected in crosswinds as my Williams wheels are. All right, guys, I hope that all made sense. I hope it's going to be helpful to those of you who are actually looking at Canyon and trying to figure out what size you want to buy and getting through the ordering process. Helpful hint, maybe worth calling in and ordering on the phone, because they did, like I say, gave me free shipping when I ordered right then when I called in, and a shirt, a t-shirt, and a hat. Don't know if they do that for everybody, but the guy on the phone was having a good day if not. So, and I appreciate it. Shipping's 99 bucks normally, so it's not like a gigantic savings when you consider what you pay for the bike, but it was worth a call. As I mentioned, leave comments below, leave questions below, or just email me directly, and I'm happy to help you out. And look forward to new updates on the bike, whether or not I keep it, or maybe try something else. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next time.